It is like one of the most beautiful things, like seeing it from the eyes of someone that has grown up in the church.
Through the trials of life, you know, we have our ups and downs.
Gotta say some prayers. Cradle and Convert.
Wow.
Hi. Hi guys. I'm the Cradle and the Convert. To Cradle and Convert, a Orthodox podcast from the female perspective.
I'm Laney.
And I'm Demi, and welcome to episode 1.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
It's going to be a little bit of a journey. This is obviously our first episode,
Yeah.
So we're hoping just to kind of grow and like continue to find out a little more about what we exactly want to do here. But I think, you know, we just want to talk about orthodoxy and obviously from the perspective of females like we talked about, and just make it a safe place for us to all chat about all things faith. And
So I guess we'll get into it and talk about why we call it Cradle and Convert. There's a little bit of an inside joke behind that for the two of us.
Basically, first of all, if you've ever been on Reddit and you're looking on anything involving orthodoxy, you've probably come across these words. And if you haven't, that's okay. Demi did not know about it either. And I don't think she'd ever been called a cradle in her life.
Didn't.
But essentially, it's just referring to people who were brought up in the faith and then people who are converts to the faith. And ever since I called her that and she looked at me like I was an insane
what
person,
are you saying?
it kind of became our joke. And
I'd never
naturally
heard it.
Needed to be the name of our podcast.
Obviously.
So yeah, do you want to give a little background on
talk about why we are Eastern Orthodox, why we're Greek Orthodox? So I was raised in the church, and I'm very grateful for my parents for raising me in the church and raising me that way. I owe a lot to them. And I think, you know, along with that, there's many reasons why I've ended up in the faith and love the faith the way I do. But I did do the whole, you know, go out and check out other religions. I really got to a point, you get to a point, everyone, I think, where if you're raised in the church, you still have to make the conscious decision as an adult to choose if you are staying in that faith or whether you go out and explore other things. And I never deviated from orthodoxy, but I definitely wanted to understand theologically where other people are coming from. Why do we have denominations? Why do we have certain religions that, you know, believe that Christ was a person, but they don't believe that he died for our sins? Like, I just wanted to understand things. And this was when I was younger, right? Like maybe like 13, 14 years old. And so I really took like a couple years to go out and like understand that, see how other people worshiped. Why do they do things differently in the church? And, you know, just the background to that. And so I took time to go and I learned, and, you know, we both have a music background, and I, you know, helped with like worship and, you know, led things that way, and just listened and really soaked up information as much as I could. And I still am learning, and, you know, I love to understand theologically where people are coming from. But I did always feel like, for me personally, there was something missing in those situations. I think that, and, you know, obviously now I know that it's very much the tradition, the dogma, the church itself, the demeanor, the ancient feeling of everything, and the unchanged tradition that we hold so close to our hearts in the Orthodox Church was something that I needed. And I didn't really click with anything else. And obviously now being an adult and very much falling in love with this faith, where I hold it, or I try to hold it, higher than everything material that we have to juggle in this lifetime already. It's something theologically I understand way more now. I'm not a theologian, but I do try to understand things to the entirety that I can. And, you know, and I'm very grateful that I have the spiritual fathers that I do to ask certain questions, and, you know, like best friends that like we also have very like intense spiritual conversations, or just regular conversations that kind of lead back to Christ in every situation anyway.
Which is one of the big reasons why we wanted to do this, is because, you know, I feel like her being cradle and me being convert, I feel like those words are gonna like make me cringe. You like growing up in the faith, and then me converting, I feel like we bring really interesting perspectives into this friendship. And you know, everyone has something to bring to that table. Like, you know, I'm sure some people watching this are already Orthodox, maybe have been their whole life. Yeah. Maybe some people have never heard of Orthodoxy and you just found this somehow, and that's awesome. You're so welcome here, and we're really excited to have you. You know, but whether you're in choir, whether you are a catechumen, which is, I'm sure some of you know, some of you don't know, but it's basically a person who is in the process of becoming Orthodox and converting, which is what I am going to be here this weekend.
I'm really so excited.
But regardless of where you're at in your journey, like, you have something to bring to the table. We can all learn from each other, and I think it's really great.
And that's like a huge, like, genuinely huge part of like why we wanted to start this. We already have so many faith conversations, or like I said, conversations that lead back to Christ in some sort of way.
Absolutely.
And we really felt like, you know, a lot of those conversations is because overlapping wise, like, we come from such a different background. Like, I was very much raised in the church, and we're both in our young 20s, and, you know, like, I'm very much, you know, single and like really devout in the faith the same way, and, you know, Laney is married and is coming in from a convert perspective, and like, there's a lot to be said about that, about like why you've ended up in the church. And I really think, I mean, like, if you're comfortable sharing, like, you should, you know, talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. And there's obviously, my journey is like a really long road, so maybe, you know, we can talk even more about that in the future, but
it'll come up.
Basically, like, you know, I was raised a Christian, and I was actually raised in the Catholic Church, but I had a little bit of an unconventional upbringing. You know, we went for like major holidays, but we weren't like super consistent in it. My mom also taught at a non-denominational school. She was a teacher, and so I kind of had this like hodgepodge of different like sects of Christianity that I didn't really ever understand the differences, because I kind of boiled it down to, we're all the same, right? And there are some really important differences in all of those, and it's things that, you know, you can learn on your own journey, and we'll also discuss, you know, in the future. But essentially, through the trials of life, you know, we have our ups and downs. Things certainly haven't been smooth. You know, I had ended up falling away, and me and my husband had the honor of rediscovering our faith together and coming to Orthodoxy.
So maybe I'll make her go into it for you guys.
Yeah.
But, like, when we met literally like at this church when I had just moved, and we happened to meet, lock eyes, and we were just like, I need to be friends with that girl.
I
was like, are you going downstairs for coffee?
Literally, we were like, we locked.
Like, I was like, oh my gosh, no, it was like,
it was such a God thing too, because she had just come, like, she just moved to the area, and I was originally going to like an Antiochian Orthodox church, which is fantastic, by the way. Absolutely love Antiochian. But I decided I wanted to come to the Greek church. I don't know why. I just wanted to. I felt called. I felt led there. And after service, I locked eyes with her, and I was like, we're going for coffee hour.
Seriously. It was such a good meet, and like, you know, we hung out like multiple times that first week after knowing each other, and like, she had told me like her whole story and her and her husband, and like, I mean, like, I was like tearing up. Like, I think it's like the most beautiful story, and like, seeing like Christ work in people, and especially like from an Orthodox perspective, the devoutness that I can see in her and her husband is just like, I don't know. It's just like, it's very heartwarming. We've had multiple conversations about this, but like, it is like something like I hope that in coming episodes, like, to someone who doesn't know us personally, right, it can come across how much we love this faith, but like, it really is like something that we have conversation about on a regular. It's something that I hold genuinely higher than anything else. I do not, you know, see, for me personally, I do not see a reason to life if we did not have Christ and the fact that he died for us. And like, I hold this faith so seriously in my soul, that like, when you see someone, especially from a like not an upbringing in the Eastern Orthodox Church, become devout to the point that they are, like, and this doesn't just go for you, this goes for like anybody really, it is like one of the most beautiful things, like, seeing it from the eyes of someone that has grown up in the church. Like, it really does warm your heart. It makes all the difference. Having a best friend that views that the exact same makes all the difference in conversation, how you view life, like the easiness to, I'm saying this so seriously, but it makes it like, I know. I mean it.
You're literally going to make me cry right now. But I think it's very, very sweet and generous that she calls me devout. I would not call myself a devout person.
She is.
But, and I will like mirror that to you. And it has been such an honor having you as my friend to also just
Don't do that.
teach me teach me about the traditions, you know, that I didn't get growing up, you know, and being able to learn that from someone who means so much to me is really an honor. And
I love you.
You impact me so much in my personal life. Spirituality is your personal life, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. All around you.
It's ditto. It's back and forth. What was like the one thing when you were coming into the faith from like either a Catholic perspective or just in general, like a Christian, like, you know, overview kind of perspective that really like for you was a turning point of seeing Orthodoxy and being like, no, like this is true. Like this is the one church, like this is what I need to end up in.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question. And I think it's because good job. Good interviewing skills. Thanks. I think it's because the emotional side of it really hit me after I had been going for a while. The reason being is, you know, when you grow up in something, you're accustomed to doing things a certain way. And there was a lot of pieces of me that were very much like Catholic, like ritualistically wise, like, and ritualistic, I don't know if that's a word, but
whatever, girl, I make up words on a regular basis.
Literally, it's what we do. It's just something that I had to learn how to let go of some of that, so that I wasn't bringing a different perspective into this faith and like looking at it from the lens of being Catholic. I needed to look at it from the lens of this is now what I'm trying, right? Like I'm going to be Orthodox, and you know, that's something we can talk more about too, like phronema and like just bringing that in. But I think for me, what it was is honestly, the first thing was kind of just the irrefutable like evidence of the faith. Like
honestly,
I know that sounds boring, but
it sounds crazy to anyone who isn't Orthodox, but when you're actually Orthodox and you really start to understand the theology and the history of the church, just in general Christianity, it'll run you back to the Eastern Orthodox Church. But
it
does. It's hard to deny.
A good book, Orthodoxy and Heterodoxy, that really like taught me a lot about Christianity and the different types of Christianity and Protestantism and where we got that, and Catholicism, where that came from, and you know, in me and my husband's like path towards finding like the true church, right? Which is really the apostolic faith. Like what was Jesus doing and what were the apostles doing? And if that was good enough for Christ and the apostles, it's more than enough for me, right? And so finding that obviously led me to Orthodoxy, and it was kind of like, I remember having a conversation with my husband, like, even if I don't love this, like before we went to liturgy, it doesn't even matter how I feel because I know this is like the right place, you know? And thankfully the experience was like amazing. So it wasn't like I was like forced, like dragging myself to go or anything, but like, you know, I was nervous. But yeah, that's what led me. And then obviously I just fell in love. I fell in love with the iconography, venerating the saints. I mean, it's an incredible...
Oh, that's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. And, you know, I know there's a lot of different opinions about it, and we'd love to, like, chat about that and, like, you know, help people understand. But doing that, you know, the prayers, the Byzantine chant, the candles, the liturgy in general, the priests, I mean, and the monastics...
Just everything in the church.
Everything.
Like, means something. Like, we believe that you should be worshiping with all of the senses that you were given.
Yeah.
And so everything when you walk into an Orthodox church has in one way or another either a meaning or more than one meaning. Like, down to the censer that the priests use, the myrrh, the frankincense that is in the censer. Every icon has a meaning. Every structure inside the church has a meaning. The way liturgy is set up has a meaning. The way we say things, the way we sing things, the way that matins is set up, like the hymns that we're singing, it's all there is literally meaning to every single thing that is in the church. And like when you really understand that, it is just one of the most I guess maybe this is just because I'm like very much in love with our faith, but like Sundays are like literally the best days. Like, like, and not just that, like any day that I'm able to like go to church or like see a liturgy, but especially Sundays where it's like literally everyone is just revolving their day around church is like the best day.
It feels like heaven.
Yeah.
Like it literally, like sometimes, like I remember you and I were talking about that one night about how like sometimes like it feels like that's what it's going to be like. you know, but I can't even, I don't know what it's going to be like.
You can't even conceptualize that fully in the brain.
But it's so amazing. And
it's like a glimpse in. And it's like that feeling when you really connect with the church on that level and like connect with like Christ really, and you like allow him to start changing your life. Like there's a lot to that. And that's such like, that runs back into like why we even wanted to start this. Like it's such like a real thing to consistently have conversation really about like how your life and how you're trying to influence your life with orthodoxy or be a better Orthodox Christian on a regular, you know, how the world is developing and how the world is today is very much not Orthodox. And trying to be an Orthodox Christian and even being like a young woman trying to grow consistently into that is such a challenge in itself in like everyday life. And, you know, there's like so much depth and meaning to everything that we're going to talk about. I know we have so many things that we want to chat about. But we really just like wanted a space and, you know, like more of like a, I guess like a woman dominated space without even being like it not even being about that.
Yeah, like a sisterhood. Like we want it to be, you know, I know that obviously we're not there with you in person, but we want it to be like, you know, you can listen to this on your couch, you know, in the car when you're driving, even at work, throw an AirPod in. Yeah. I mean, we're not going to judge you.
And that can just be something that you feel like you're here with us, you know, sitting and chatting, and like we just have these conversations so often, and we'll see how all of this like develops just with time. But we really just wanted a space like for the conversations that we so often have together to be like maybe something that, you know, other women coming into Orthodoxy or just in general like Orthodox Christians feel like they could relate to, because like it's such a real thing, and like life is not linear and things happen all the time that we don't expect. And like just in general, I can just say like, you know, being a young woman and like growing in faith and like holding faith the way that I know both of us do in our life, and we want so many things to be surrounded around that. I know to a lot of people may sound very crazy and things like that, but it's just like such a learning experience in itself. And there's so much that you have to like maneuver and you know, like so many lessons you're learning on a regular basis, and we just wanted like a space to honestly just be able to talk about it and like,
and for you guys to communicate with us and chat. Like we really want this to be like, no, it's a podcast, but we want to interact with you guys like on socials and and just like have a family, you know, and also like just be like your spiritual sisters, like you can chat with, and like, you know, there's things like we understand that everyone comes from different family dynamics, and not everyone has a spiritual sister like in their life to chat about, and especially coming into like Orthodoxy.
We will be that.
If you have questions, obviously, if it's really intense, talk to your spiritual father. But we'll also try to answer it.
There's been so many conversations that we have had like between the two of us that have been so spiritually impactful, but also just like so real with like what life is, that we just wanted to like be able to share that with, you know, other women who we've had like separate conversations with, and they're like, actually like this is such a good thing to talk about. I guess I've never really had a chance to talk about it, and you know, if we have such a tool like social media to use, why not use that to glorify God and talk about, you know, him, and just really like use this space in a positive manner. I don't really think we have enough like positive social media anymore.
We definitely need more positivity, you know? In like, the world in general.
It's just something we're so passionate about. So you know, we just wanted to create this space. So welcome. We're really excited to have you along on this journey while we're very much growing in theosis together. And
I mean, Orthodoxy is a simple faith, but it's also a really complex faith, and it's all kind of about the perspective and how you're looking at it, you know?
If you guys ever have topics you want us to talk about or real things that are going on that you're like, you know what, low-key, this is not talked about, please let us know. Comment it. We're really excited to talk about it. Yeah.
Stay safe. Read your Bible.
All the love.
We'll see you next time.
Gotta say some prayers. Girls Gone Bible, but make them Orthodox.
Whoa. Yeah. Except we're Cradle and Convert.
Except we're Cradle and Convert.
It's the same, except not the same.
It's not the same at all. We are talking about Eastern Orthodoxy.
Yeah, this is true.
Mistress of creation, rejoice, O unwedded bride. With us both being. Yeah.
The frick is happening?
I can't talk. Why am I locking in like I'm gonna go to court? Judge, She did it! Camera.
Don't let the government see this.
Regarding the female perspective.
Regarding the fact that we're female and we have perspective.
Actually. What's happening right now? Cradle and Convert, where we're coffee fiends.